You have heard the names, and seen their story. After the saga was done, slowly people would see the truths behind it. Through 2020 people have noticed the many new truths about the saga, its origins, its theme and its messages. From myth to reality.
You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
The Jedi in Star Wars is based on the science of the Djed pillars in ancient Egypt. The creator of Star Wars, George Lucas, got his inspiration for the concept of the Jedi from the Djed pillars in ancient Egyptian culture and mythology. The official Star Wars fan blog writes, "A Jedi was a devotee to the ways of the Jedi Order, an ancient order of protectors united by their ability to harness the power of the Force. Adhering to a doctrine that favored the light side of the Force, the Jedi aspired to attain a state of inner tranquility through calmness and meditation while avoiding emotions affiliated with the dark side of the Force, such as anger and hatred." Nevertheless, Jedi philosophy did not forbid a Jedi from acting in self-defense or in the defense of others. Things that prove the Jedi in Star Wars was inspired by the Djed pillars in ancient Egypt. There is a clear and obvious resemblance between the word Jedi and Djed. The original lightsaber used in the first Star Wars movies, even the newer versions, looks strangely similar to the shape of the Djed pillars. The entire backstory of Star Wars is based on raising up the Jedi to restore balance in the universe. In Egyptian mythology, when the Djed pillar is raised, Osiris returns from the dead. Those who understand the metaphysical symbology behind the mythology understand that Osiris, Lord of the Underworld, is symbolic to the subconscious mind. In other words, by raising the Djed pillar, the energy contained within your spine, you can overcome the wretchedness of your conscious mind, allowing the most powerful force within yourself, the subconscious mind, to tame the animal nature of your human condition and restore order in your universe. The creator of Star Wars, George Lucas, has often expressed how he turned to ancient mythology and religions for inspiration. Basically taking ancient concepts and redefining them for the purpose of creating the themes, storylines, and characters in the Star Wars movies. In ancient Egypt, the surviving histories reveal that the Jedi manifested as the Jedi, hence the name Jedi, which was a sect of the priesthood and masters of the Force that protected the Pharaoh, and in Persia they were the Nats, guardians of a holy grail called the Natmung and the protectors of enlightened priest kings who lived at least 1000 years before King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. The remarkable history and wisdom of these two early sects of Jedi Knights was first introduced to the West by the Knights Templar, who upon returning from the Middle East in the 13th and 14th centuries, distilled Jedi histories learned from the Sufis into a series of lengthy Holy Grail legends. This is a guidebook to the real-life way of the Jedi, a guide to living the way of the Jedi in a very real and focused, passionate way that is both dangerous and practical. The way of the Jedi is the way of the spiritual warrior. The way of the Jedi is the way of the Force which pre-existed George Lucas and the epic Star Wars saga. Ancient Egyptians, Sufis and Knights Templar mastered the way of the Djed, Kundalini or life force. Those who were adept at the way of the Djed were known as Jedi. George Lucas dropped the D when he began production of Episode 4 in the 70s. The Jedi were the stable ones, wisdom keepers of one mind and one spirit who, as initiates of the Osirian mysteries, comprised the living, terrestrial body of the archetypal, celestial Osiris. Contemporary Jedi are self-selecting regenerators of cosmos. They are those who, regardless of race or creed, are awakening to mission in service to the planet and the epochal imperatives of stability, continuity and regeneration. The secrets of the Force of the Jedi Knights were first taught among the Egyptian Jedi or Jedi, who may have received them from a much earlier prehistorical Jedi Knight order, perhaps one from Atlantis. One Jedi priest mentioned in the Egyptians' Westcar papyrus is said to have possessed the key that opened the secret chambers of the sanctuary of Thoth. The Jedi warriors are those raising awareness, raising consciousness, stirring the rest of us to stand up for what is right and good in the world, to stand against oppression and tyranny. They are raising the Djed. The way of the Jedi is the way of the Force which pre-existed George Lucas and the epic Star Wars saga. Ancient Egyptians, Sufis and Knights Templar mastered the way of the Djed, Kundalini or life force. Those who were adept at the way of the Djed were known as Jedi. George Lucas dropped the D when he began production of Episode 4 in the 70s. This field manual, which is guidebook to awakening the Force within, was subtitled, The Force Awakens before Disney, who bought the rights to Star Wars, announced that this was the name to Episode 7 due out in today. So we meditated on it and the Force revealed that the best subtitle for our manual, movie and way of life is Force of One. Advanced healing arts, martial arts and communication, diplomacy and coordination, are practiced and taught daily. Though all to me are one with the Force by birth, and though all have the inherent power of the Force within them, unless it is awakened it may lay dormant for a lifetime. Once the Force awakens, so begins the path of being a force of one.